So is your $6 latte actually the reason why you don't own a house yet?
Because according to financial experts, stopping drinking Starbucks, we'd be a millionaire by now.
Yeah, so is coffee the problem? Or is it just the easiest thing to blame?
Because if skipping the lattes really made people rich, we'd all be retired by now.
Yeah. So today we're going to break down the latte lie, the real math behind daily coffee, and if whether treating yourself is actually killing your budget. Let's go ahead and figure that out.
All right.
Hey, welcome back to the Buy Your Kids a House podcast series. Again, I'm Matt. This is Andrew. And these segments, we go over the treat yourself segment. And today we're going to dive into the idea of coffee, whether you drink it out at a coffee shop or if you're more a homebrew person, and looking at what the financial impacts are of that, but also still wanting to enjoy it, whether it's just also to keep your energy going or whether it's the aspect of, you just need to, enjoy it, relaxing, you like the taste of it, and that whole element of what coffee can bring into your life. Now go ahead, please like, share, subscribe, help us out on this channel. Put in the comments, are you a homebrew person? Are you a Starbucks or Dunkin' person? Are you some of these other smaller startup chains that we see popping up? Like we got like Dutch Brothers and everything coming into the Orlando area. Go ahead and put in there also what type of coffee. Are you, straight black coffee? Are you a cappuccino latte person? Are you a mocha frappe, decaf, half foam, soy milk, lectin, oat milk, whatever? These orders get pretty crazy and everything out there. But go ahead, talk about also like, is it the crazier the drink you get? Does that up the price and maybe make it put it out of reach of what you can affordability wise? But also, maybe you can't do a home brew because if you can only like the super frothy, all that type of stuff, it's really hard to duplicate that at home. So going into some of that aspects, but first off, let's go into the simple math of talking about what it's like to have those coffee shop type brews and everything with it.
Yeah, because as you know, like they're not cheap and the prices do keep going up. So the average cost of a drink, like, isn't $6-7 around there specifically for
6, 7?
Oh no, we're not going down that rabbit hole.
Too late.
I didn't even do the hands tonight. Oh no.
Yep.
But okay, we're just gonna have to cut this out because I can't stop laughing.
I broke them.
Because I hate that so much. Like kids do it all the time. I even realized I did the hands and it said $6. You spend your entire life being told the way you say your orders of the numbers. You always say the lower than the higher, but now they ruined it for me. Okay, I guess Starbucks is just going to have to raise the prices to like $10, $12.
Just to get out.
Yeah. But no, it's getting a little bit ridiculous how expensive it is. But at the same time, how are you going to get that at home? Like it's something you're going out for the experience. I personally love coffee shops. I love the smell of coffee shops, the experience of going out to a new one. I'm more of a local guy and more than a chain. I like to go to more local stuff than like Starbucks or Dunkin' or something like that. But is that $6 to $7 really affecting your overall income and what you're trying to save and your budget, the 50-30-20 rule and things like that? Is it really affecting it that much? And I think you have some stats for us as well for it.
Yeah, so basically, you hear a lot of times these clips, all you millennials, if you just cut out your Starbucks, you'd have enough money for a home down payment, buy a house, and you'd be rich and ready to retire and all that stuff. If you just cut out the Starbucks, you'd be more fine. Let's just say you went to Starbucks 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, every day and everything. You're getting your $6 coffee. That's $30 a week over the course of 52 weeks. That's $1,560 per year. Not chump change. We're not saying this, not nothing, but $1,560 is money. But in this greater financial sense of it, everything, if you're looking at, trying to get a 20% down payment on a house and everything, that's $400,000, that's $80,000. Like, I don't know about you, but even if I'm investing in saving, I'm going to have to invest or save for 50 or 60 years of just my Starbucks money in order to have that house down payment. So, let's look at it over the course of 30 years, having your Starbucks money at an 8% rate of return, which is, a modest rate of return, but still decent rate of return. Over the 30 years, you're looking at about $175,000 to $200,000. Again, not chump change, but if we're looking at trying to retire at $2 to $5 million, we're talking less than 10% of that, being your Starbucks money. And so again, I'm not saying to waste this money on it and everything, but this isn't what's destroying our financial impact of this. it can hinder us a little bit and everything. And then if you have other things that are more problematic in your financial budget, we'll look into where maybe you should cut out the Starbucks and everything. But if you're in a fairly well surroundings, Starbucks isn't the reason why we're not having a house and not retiring.
No, exactly. Because if the Starbucks is the reason, we got bigger problems. And, going to like other things, maybe cut out a nice restaurant or something that's going to cost quite a bit more instead of this, because that's, like you said, a very low percentage that we're spending for coffee. Yeah. And a lot of us, I need my coffee. I get either the headaches or, I'm just dragging. The caffeine is nice to have. Plus, I personally like the taste of it. I am like just black with maybe a little bit of sugar kind of guy. But on occasion, I do like a peppermint mocha too, so I'll splurge on that as well. But when it's talking about just like regular cups and things like that, it's even cheaper than doing like a specialty drink as well. So that cost really isn't, in my opinion, affecting a whole lot of your overall budget.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, we covered the dollar cents of it, but also like, part of the reason that you hit a little bit on there is maybe like going to local coffee shops. I look at it. So, I'm a parent with a couple of kids. Sometimes it's hard to get work done at home and everything because, for us, we have multiple aspects to doing this podcast between writing scripts, editing videos, all that type of stuff. Yeah. It can be tough to do that at home when you got noisy kids and dogs and everything else going around the house. So usually most coffee shops are quiet settings. So you're having that atmosphere, just be able to go in. Now, yes, I know you can just technically walk in. You don't necessarily have to buy anything, but I feel guilty for going into a business and not patronizing them of, like I should partake in your goods and services to be in here. So again, like I will buy a coffee and everything and hang out in there. You have the ability then to enjoy a quiet atmosphere where you can then do your work. You see lots of people doing that, whether it's studying for school, doing work, reading books, things along those lines. It's also great for doing networking meetups in professional settings. So if you're a younger budding entrepreneur or professional that doesn't necessarily have your own office and everything yet, like using a coffee shop as a meeting ground is a great way for networking and building that atmosphere and connectivity. Plus also with the amount of coffee shops around the nation, it also makes it more convenient to meet someone. So like say, Orlando's a pretty spread out town. So we want to meet someone across town and everything. I was going to say, like, hey, is there a local coffee shop near you so we can meet up there rather than making them drive all the way across town to you or meeting in the middle, some sort of compromise ground. There's generally going to be something in that range that you can find a coffee shop to meet at. Right. So again, there's lots of other benefits to it than outside just the coffee that I feel is part of the benefit of the availability of doing it.
Well, no, exactly. And like you said, the quiet place to be able to just enjoy the coffee and get work done. And then you never know, the person next to you, they might be writing the next big screenplay. That's the age-old joke. It's like everyone in his coffee shop writing a new screenplay. They're like, what are you writing like over there? But just to be in that just calmness, because usually it's, either elevator music going or just very monotone things. And having that to be able to just chill is super cool. I enjoy it. It's definitely more motivational than just sitting at home on your couch, maybe in front of your TV, and then that temptation to like click on something instead of doing the work you need to do. It eliminates all of that because you went out for a purpose, you're doing that, and you're enjoying coffee while you do it.
Yeah. And then also, again, coffee in general, you drink it for a reason of caffeine. You need the energy and everything for one reason or another. I know for my reason, again, is this balancing that work-life kids element. And with that, yes, it may cost me $6 or $7 to spend for it. However, my productivity, I feel, goes up on days that I have it because I'm able then to focus on getting the work done, still having had time to clean the house, to get the kids the practice and everything. If I didn't have that, I feel that my overall daily ability to do things would drop down enough that actually it would be a hindrance to my overall work benefit and everything. So yes, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's an investment, but it's an investment into my ability to do work, which then will increase my potential income in that.
Exactly.
So if I didn't have coffee, whether it's through a homebrew version or a coffee house version, I need the little caffeine to keep me going in order to get through the week of juggling multiple aspects of jobs and income, where we're doing multiple different streams. Again, my kids also are doing their own versions of TikTok and things out there, and Twitch streaming and everything. So helping all these different things out there, I need the energy to get through that all. And again, that's where caffeine and coffee come into play in that area. So again,
absolutely,
the benefit of that. on top of then the coffee shop to actually provide the atmosphere, which again I don't know what it is about the psychological sense of it, but like you definitely
Yeah.
feel like you could just lock in more
Uh-huh.
to get that productivity up on top of the caffeine rush, if you will, of doing so. Whether it's also just the relaxing atmosphere, or they also don't shun you for coming in with your own headphones and just locking down on the back and doing what you need to do.
Exactly.
So like there's yes, the money is not chump change, but again, I think that again you can figure out ways as to why it out benefits the cost of going into it and everything.
Hmm.
But I think now it kind of covers the aspect of what we're looking into from a coffee shop mentality. Let's compare to what it looks like from doing a homebrew style.
Yeah.
So
All right. All right, so next we're going to be talking about home brewing and the machines that you can get for that, what the expectations are, the different costs of it, and going into is it worth more investing into a home brew versus going to Starbucks and going out for the coffee to different coffee shops and things like that. In my opinion, for me, like I said, I am just more of a plain Jane with just a black coffee, things like that. So just a basic coffee maker for me is plenty. Like that's really all I need, but it starts adding up really quickly.
yeah, again, like if you can just have a basic, Mr. Coffee type machine, you can get, 20, $40 and everything for that machine. And if you're getting, a basic, bag of pre-ground beans. And
Mhm.
again, you don't need a bunch of the creamers or, maybe just a little bit of regular sugar and things you might already have around the house because,
Right.
other cooking essentials. Like, you can be at, 50 cents to $1 a cup and everything. And, obviously that's a far cry from the $6 or so dollars for
Yeah.
a professionally made that. But you start going down the rabbit hole of these coffee machines. People like, grinding their own beans. That's an additional cost of a grinder because usually those are mostly a separate attachment item. If you're getting premium bags of beans and everything, that'll
Mhm.
double or triple the cost of the type of coffee you're getting because you can get really down the rabbit hole of these coffee beans sourced from all around the world
Oh
and what they had to
yeah.
provide and what type of dark roast and light roast and everything. And then you can get the really big machines that are several hundred even a few $1,000s to do
Yeah.
your cappuccinos, lattes, frothing the milk, and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And if you're investing all that into there, are you really that much of a difference from having someone else do it for you? Let alone the cleaning and maintenance of it, the time
Yep.
it takes to do it. There's a lot of elements like that that you really have to consider on that.
Yeah, no, you touched on a couple things. The coffee beans one, because they are getting ridiculously expensive, and not all coffee beans are created equal,
Yeah,
for sure. You buy the cheaper ones, you're going to be able to taste that is a cheaper coffee for sure.
yeah, yeah,
And even at the local grocery stores, buying like I think it's even just a half pound now of Starbucks beans is like $15. That's crazy.
yeah,
Now, mind you, for me, that would last longer than a lot of people, but that's a lot of money to be spending just on the coffee beans.
yeah,
And then you go into these machines, like we were talking about. For me, just having your Mr. Coffee or your basic Ninja or something like that is more than enough for me. But if you like the drinks with the lattes, the cappuccinos, you're more into the espressos, those machines start at like $400 or $500, and 9 times out of 10, the reviews on them are broke within the first month,
yeah,
stopped working, clogged, all these issues. And to offset that, then you have to go up a tier or two, and now you're spending well over $1,000 just for the machine.
yeah.
And that's hopefully even if it comes with a coffee grinder, because as we know, the way you grind coffee too affects the flavor. So if you're really wanting that whole Starbucks experience, you're also going to have to get a nice grinder. And those, like for nice ones, start at like $150 and go up from there.
Yeah.
And that's crazy expensive overall. You're easily being your entire budget
Yeah.
for coffee that you would be spending a year for just Starbucks. And then the last thing you touched on is time. If you don't want to spend the time at home, because a lot of these like nicer machines, they don't just do everything all at once. You do have to build it just like they do at Starbucks and things like that. Versus I can just pull up my app, order the coffee, get ready for work, go pick it up on my way to work, whatever's close, and then bam, I wasted minutes versus like 15, 20 minutes trying to get all of these other things done. So the time aspect is a huge contributing factor too.
No, and then there's also one big aspect is the time to clean it.
Yep.
Because again, yes, okay, you brew a cup at home, they brew a cup at Starbucks, you're waiting in the line to get it or whatever the case is, same time.
Mm-hmm.
but then you leave Starbucks.
Yeah.
And you leave the mess behind. Like, hey guys, you're the one now has to clean the grinder. You're the coffee shop. You're the one that has to clean the little frothing wand, run the clean the line out, clean any spillage and everything, wipe that all off, clean that all off, maintain it and everything. That's all on them.
Mm-hmm.
It is not on you now, and that to me is a major time factor. Now, one area where I do enjoy because I do both. I have a homebrew machine, and I do go to coffee shops a lot and everything. One of my main reasons is for me and for my breakfast is throwing a scoop of protein powder into my coffee, which is not as easy to do at a coffee shop because most of them, I know some are starting to incorporate like little mini proteins in there and everything.
Yeah.
But what they call as protein, it can be like, oh, we threw in 8 grams of protein. Like, well, I'm looking more in the 20 to 30 range. So, getting that full scoop of real protein to throw in there and then shaking it up and everything, to me is just a quick, easy way for me to get my protein intake as far as a health standpoint. And a lot of times the coffee flavor with a vanilla protein already kind of gives it that creaminess aspect to it that you would get from having a creamer. So I do a little bit of both on that. But at the end of the day, like, cleaning that up and everything like that, to me, it ends up taking so much more time and effort than, like you said, you already have it in the app, you're ready to go, you swing right through, you grab it, you run away, and you're off on your adventure to whatever it is you're trying to do for your destination for the day. So, now again, if you are just more of a, I wouldn't say hardcore, but more basic. I could do my black coffee with a little, like a basic brew system. Everything might be around the go. But if you need a lot more things too, which I fully admit, I'm still at that stage of my game where I need a little more things too. Like, I'm a little newer to the coffee world. I used to be more of a Red Bull Monster energy drink guy, but that's can be really tough on your system and everything a lot of times. And now that I'm getting a little bit older, I'm trying to pivot more to coffee. Right. So I'm still accruing the flavor of coffee and everything. So for right now, by appreciating the flavor of coffee, you need to hide it all.
You don't want to taste that at all.
No, so I need all the frothy, the foam, the flavors and everything. You need to add the caramel, the hazelnut, all those other flavors to hide things. And that's where, again, costs can get really out of hand because each one of those things you're having to buy the bottle of the syrup and juice. And I forgot to turn that off.
That's fine. It's fine. We'll have 2 bloopers in this already. It never always goes exactly the way we want it to, everyone. Just so you are aware, it takes work. And today we, I think, are deciding to be a little bit more candid because
a little bit behind the scenes on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we both haven't had a full cup of coffee yet, so
I'm gonna yell at Rod tonight. I don't need his workout videos in the middle of everything.
But to tag back along with that, we didn't even touch on the cost of the syrup bottles. Because they can be $15, $20 for a bottle of that. Now, mind you, that's probably gonna last you a little while, assuming you're getting the bigger bottle. But that still adds to the overall cost of your home brew. Yeah.
No, again, and also you generally probably want to have a few different flavors unless you are really like locked in on one and everything. So, my wife, caramel all day, every day. It's always caramel. But I am one of a wide variety of flavors. So I like to have a little hazelnut, I have a little caramel, I have a little vanilla, so like to have, a few of these ready to go at any given point in time. Like, because I need a little variety, because if I'm doing the same thing every day, like it gets boring and monotonous to me. Right. So again, those are a massive added cost and everything on top of needing the specialized creamers with the different flavorings onto that, and then again like you mentioned the bag of beans already, like there's a lot more to it. So a lot of times when people say like, oh, just drink it at home and be at 15 cents a cup or whatever, like that's not always the case. Like, again, I think homebrew is a great option, but keep it in a realistic sense of that you're still going to probably be more that $2 to $3 by the time you have the finished product of everything together, which is half of what you're doing in a coffee shop. Absolutely. So again, we're taking that $1,500 a year and cutting it down to $750 a year. And if you're really on the budget aspect of trying to allocate that difference of money, then maybe that is a great route to go and everything with it. But don't look at it as homebrew as being the end all be all answer to your coffee addiction, if you will.
No, correct. Because as we've just went over it adds up so fast. And that's not even with the milk. Everything I keep thinking that you would need, like milk consistently. And if you're having it every day, that's going to go quickly. So you're, buying more milk for it and creamers and things like that, like we've said. Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think overall, I love the experience of coffee shops. The time you save is worth it most of the time to me if I'm getting something that's not just my plain black cup of coffee. So saving that amount of time is worth that extra $3.
Yeah. So, again, if you're looking at your budget aspect of it and everything, and you're that, thinking that you're like, oh, by switching, cutting off the coffee shop all the way to go homebrew is my solution to all the financial problems in the world. I don't think that's the case of it and everything.
No.
So again, if you want to have both the supplement, which is what I do and everything, so I make some at home. I go out to the coffee shop, some having that blend of things, but looking at it still in the idea that it could still be a treat yourself supplement to your life and everything.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at it as like I'm going to forego the coffee shop to then save the money aspect of it and just only do homebrew as a way to save all the money. I don't think that's going to be the answer route on this.
No, so. And tie in just a little bit of the emotional aspect of it, because someone getting Starbucks is usually like their little joys of the day, you know, like, and having that to help you not only from the caffeine and being more energetic from it and things like that, but it brings you more comfort, and you feel great for the day, or what you're going into. Maybe you're going to have a hard day, but that cup of coffee brings you somewhat of a comfort. That's important too to look at.
Yeah, so I think now we're going to kind of look into just the difference of making sure where it fits into your budget and maybe where you should be making the cuts in this if it really is a problem in this, and making sure that you're not blowing that budget, but still, again, enjoying the treating yourself element of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think here now is where we want to really, cover the thought behind why a lot of financial experts love to poke fun at the Starbucks aspect of, blowing money on coffee, and why, that's impacting your finances. Because at the end of the day, there is an element of truth in it behind it. While I think the message is a little bit missed by them, but the thought is more so if you're just doing this unconscious spending while you have a whole bunch of debt. So again, if you have a ton of credit card debt and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you don't know where your spending is coming from, unconsciously spending of being in that routine of every morning, driving out, swipe, get my Starbucks and be on my way, not realizing where your money is going. The whole point of this is to be disciplined in your finances and tracking and seeing where your money is going, and does it fit within your actual 50, 30, 20 budget. And again, I've sat down with a lot of clients throughout the years, and I'll ask them, like, how much are you spending your food budget? And they'll be like, oh, I spend $400 a month. And then when we look at a month, it's now 800 to 1,000. It's like, well, you don't realize that you're actually double, almost triple of what you thought you were at, and that Starbucks, falls into that category.
Right.
Again, do I think that having $6 a day, $120-ish a month, is that where it's going to hurt it? No, but if you don't realize you're spending $120, that's where it can be impactful. And again, if you are, if you're a decent income earner and you're out of debt, and you're not worried about the aspect of you already have your investments and everything going, you can then have your coffee and enjoy and everything. The idea is, when you don't know and you're drowning in debt, that's where you maybe need to pull back on it.
Well, that's when it becomes a problem. Maybe you're not making as much money, you change of jobs or something like that, but your habits stayed the same, and you're now going out maybe 2 or 3 times for Starbucks a day. And that's going to start adding up, and that's where the subconscious spending is really going to affect that. And like you said, if you have the credit card debt all like stacking up, and you have not enough in your 20 section of your 50, 30, 20 rule of our savings, and if you don't have that and you're not investing, then maybe it's time to cut back or look into that a little bit cheaper home system to do it that way.
Yeah. So again, it's not the unconscious spending of it. It's knowing where it goes. Again, like you said, within your 50, 30, 20 budget, if your budget's structured out and your 20% investments, if you already have that maxed out and it falls into your 30 and you're sitting there fine with that, then absolutely enjoy your Starbucks. Is when you have your 50, 30, 20 not hammered down. And now that, if that $120 puts you over into 30 and your 20% of your budget for investment is less, you're not realizing that, that's where things need to be tweaked by that. If you don't know what we're talking about, 50, 30, 20, go back and watch our previous videos, because we cover your budget and where that fits into and how that shapes out and everything. But again, if your 20% is not maxed out, fix that first. If you're drowning in debt, fix that first. And if that takes maybe pulling back on some of the coffee in order to allocate, even $50 to $100 of that coffee budget to attacking that debt, at least for the short term, that's maybe what you need to do. We have to make sacrifices to get on track. So I think in general, to kind of recap everything that we were at, whether you're a coffee shop person or a home brew person or a little hybrid of both, again, just understanding the context of where it fits into your budget is really the important aspect of taking from this. So, again, if you have your 50, 30, 20 budget laid out and it fits in there, then it's okay to enjoy your latte.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we need to really stop blaming coffee for being broke and take more responsibility for really looking at that budget and doing what we need to within that first.
Yeah, because again, you want to build a system, and then within that system, you want to enjoy your life. Because remember, you want to build wealth the boring way.
So your kids can live the bold way.
Until next time.